Sonic X Shadow Generations is releasing in less than 1 month from now, so the countdown officially begins. I cannot contain my hype. I was only 16 years old when Sonic Generations came out in 2011, and it immediately became one of my top Sonic games at the time. It's also really special to me because it was the first game that I ever Let's Played on the channel. It's what launched me as a YouTuber back in 2013. Now, 13 years later, at 29 years old, I can only imagine what this re-release plus remake in a way, adding on Shadow Story, is only going to look like. In 2014, I started a series called The Road to Smash 4, and it quickly became a lot of your favorite series out there. I thought for celebrating 15 years of SuperGirlKels, I can bring it back for, well, such a special game like Sonic X Shadow Generations. So this time I'm going to be going through every single era in Sonic Generations, classic, modern, and even Shadow the Hedgehog's legacy, and kind of live commentate over my history with the franchise that's featured in Generations, and how much it meant to me at the time, and what it does to me now. Today we're gonna start by going through every single classic Sonic level, while I remember every path and memory that kind of boggles my nostalgia. And I want to see if it's as good as I remember. What is up? I'm SuperGirlKels. My hair is horribly done today. Let's take a ride. Let's sit down. I'm getting to my PC as I'm going to look through my old footage of Sonic Generations. We're going to start with classic Sonic and see just how much things have changed. Let's get this webcam in and let's get starting to react. Okay, starting off with Green Hill, obviously the level that we're all not really excited for anymore because I feel like from 2010 to 2021, all they did was bring this level back over and over again, but there's something about this one specifically. I think it comes down to the background and just how lively everything really feels that makes it so special. At this time, there was no such thing as bringing back old levels, so seeing Green Hill for the first time since Sonic Adventure 2 was such a big deal. There's been other kind of references in Sonic Generations, in Sonic history, like Sonic Advance, but no. Okay, first thing I want to bring up is the physics, obviously, of classic Sonic. I can tell that I was like trying to get used to it again, but what's really, really crazy is how powerful the spin dash is, but how much lack of speed Sonic actually has. In terms of just his running. So his running is like totally nerfed. He can't even go through the loop-de-loop like you saw before. And just even the platform, you see like he doesn't like have that much momentum in this game. I feel like momentum in this game isn't really happening just because classic Sonic here is being ran on the modern Hedgehog engine. So because of that, it's really hard for him to maintain speed just by simply running. So he kind of requires like a boost in a way. This is probably my favorite section of the level, just crossing this area. This is from Act 2 of Green Hill Zone. Just look at the background, man. Like the sunflowers, the way that everything is moving. I love going to hit every capsule possible because they kept the original sound effects, and that sound effect is so freaking satisfying. This is like the one thing. Even there, see, like, you notice I spin, I couldn't even have momentum. I just had to keep going, which was, I just had to keep spinning in a way. You can't just hold forward. This game, like in Classic specifically, I don't like speedrunning it. This is a mode in Sonic Generations that I really want to enjoy just playing through the game. Hitting every capsule and going through every alternate path just makes it so special. That is such a great opening to a video game. I think they nailed it on the dot. This is Green Hill, baby. I mean, it's what started everything, and this broke everyone's minds back in E3 when they showed this game. Let's head on to Chemical Plant. Chemical Plant 2 was completely redone in this game. You know, you had Green Hill Zone that was basically a mix of Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3 of the original Green Hill. But they did a really good job in Chemical Plant to make it feel very new. They have some certain references here and there, enemies, of course, that are a throwback to Sonic 2's original stage. But they just really made different paths altogether. Even the water section, and I actually do it here, where you don't even have to touch it. You just don't even have to deal with the climbing section at all. And I remember this enemy, thank goodness gracious. Only 1 second behind on my actual time, so not bad. See this part here, that's all from Act 2 of Chemical Plant. I remember that being just so iconic. The sound effects, once again, like I could spin dash my entire way up, but instead I just wanna, you know, enjoy just what this game has to offer. Again, no momentum, a lot of waiting around at the time. I feel like the platforms in this game, now looking back at it, could have been done a lot faster. I think that they kind of this was the era of like babying platforming. So I feel like a lot of platforming sections were slowed down to make it easier for newcomers that were introduced to Sonic. So right here, if I jump, see what I mean? You end up skipping the entire water section. You can actually slide down, you'll be into the toxic area. But we end up skipping it because, you know, we're kind of great like that. Using these springs to get around. And there's actually an achievement for it. So for those who are trying to get everything in the game, if you don't touch the toxic waste at all, you'll end up getting an achievement on Act 1. So that's pretty awesome. And then once again, you go through here, and that is the end of Chemical Plants. Oh, such a good time. Again, this was kind of like carrying out the momentum of what made this game so damn freaking good. Moving on to my favorite level of all time in Sonic Generations. This is classic Sky Sanctuary, because I feel like they basically did Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but better. It really does feel like the sequel and the follow-up to what it should be. I love this so much. Just the way the level is designed, how everything looks, and just the alternate paths and the clouds, they feel so satisfying to jump on. You don't even have to go on both of those clouds there, but you do anyways because it feels great. And then there's also secrets like this, where if you learn how to really platform and utilize Sonic speed, you can get to great heights and skip entire sections if you wanted to. This level was just so well drawn out, and whoever designed it, like, yo, I hope they get just the biggest raise at Sega or something like that. This part too, the waiting to get all three if you wanted to. Just so well done. You're constantly moving, but you're never holding forward. You're really finding the right angles, jumping when you need to, how you need to get to where you need to. It's so satisfying. Here we go, I get a little nice boost, nice momentum there. What I like about classic Sonic is it doesn't rely too much on going through like hoops. Those orange hoops are speed bumps to give you like the speed you need, unless you're in like Speed Highway, which we'll see soon. But this is really all perfect platforming, and as a platformer, this level meant a lot. I know that not a lot of people liked this level originally, just because of how much platforming there is, and people are like, oh, Sonic's not a platformer, but he is. He really was made to be a platformer, to be just going faster than Mario. That was his thing, and I'm just such a sucker for platforming. Missed that spring. That's actually the first time I ever missed that. So usually you end up just hitting it, no problem, or there's a problem between 2D, 3D that kind of blends in with the engine. But it's great that there I ended up just missing it entirely. None of the actual glitches or problems. I just end up hitting it. I think I just kicked my cat. I did. He's okay. Going up the hill. Yes! Oh my god, okay, this section is the only part I don't like. I feel like it wasn't really done well. It feels like I break all momentum and I'm waiting too much, but luckily you can use your speed jump. Just do like a spin jump to get across where you need. So many bumpers, so many, like I can go low, I can go high. There's so many places I actually ended up skipping in this one level just now because there's just so much to do. Now, one thing I do wish in the capsules, I wish that you do end up needing to like jump on them, kind of like the classics. You know, it's not just given to you when you touch them. I would really like to just have that. But this part, there's actually a little glitch with this one. I was really worried that the pillars would break and Sonic would fall and die. I've done that a lot of times on the 360 version, but I didn't run into that issue this time. Luckily, I was just able to get to the end and it's fine. But there's many times where you're running up, you're like, please work, please work, please work, and then it doesn't and you end up dying and then you lose your S rank and you have to start all over. But these levels are not that long, so that's good. And not that long is Speed Highway. Very quick level with a lot of paths. If you're a speedrunner and do this trick right away in the beginning, you could skip already a big chunk of the level, taking like entire platforming section just off. A lot of waiting though. You have to kind of precise when you're going to be jumping on this because you only have 2 seconds until that platform would rip. But luckily we know the timing. I would play this game every single day after school. I would get home from school and play it right away. So the most speedful impacted paths is what I know already. But obviously the meta of Sonic Generations, I know that there's such a competitive speedrunning scene with this game, has evolved so much, especially using mods on the PC version, right? They can fix so much of the issues that the game has. but it doesn't take away the natural vanilla gameplay experience that this game has to offer, especially those shortcuts, right? Like me going on the left side instead of the right side. Usually, you know, you think holding forward is going to be the fastest, but no, going back and forth to finding what is actually fastest really makes a big difference. And if you hit that bell, that is, I remember, a big shout to Sonic Adventure in the Speed Highway level. When you get to the Happy Light area, you do end up ringing the bell and you get lots of rings. So you did a lot of speed platforming sections to jump onto the helicopter that is so iconic. I love that they implemented that into the classic version of Sonic. I think that it just suited him so well. He looks so cute. We're going to talk about his model later. I have a lot of problems with it, but he's still very cute, and they did a really good job with it. Let's go ahead and jump up these platforms. These also flip after 2 seconds when they start shaking, and I do end up missing my timing hitting the spikes, unfortunately. Now, you notice that Sonic kind of has like recoil. Whenever he gets hit, he lands and kind of like has an animation of, oh, I hit something, oh, I have to stand back up. And I always hated that. There is an ability in this game though that called Lightfoot, where when you do get hit, I missed that. That's the first time I ever missed that, by the way. Ever. I was never down here in my history of playing this game, so I was like, where do I go? But I did know that there's a zip line that does carry you to the goal in the end, and it might even be faster, so I'd have to test that. But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm too amazed. So it is what it is. We'll be talking about Sonic's model. He's cute, but cool is what I strive for. Now we're gonna get into City Escape. I was really worried about this level because I was like, how are they gonna do classic Sonic in City Escape, right? Like it's such a 3D level, but they did a phenomenal job. Right away off the gate, you could see how they take the residence area when Sonic is in a very narrow path. A lot of time in Sonic Adventure 2, they kind of turn that into a 2D side-scroller platformer. And I love it all the way here. And then being chased by the truck in the beginning of the level under 30 seconds. And going with the bass drop, if you actually play this perfectly timed, it will sync with the music where the explosion of the chorus will hit just as the truck starts to chase you. So it's really, really cool. If you do practice it enough, it feels so damn satisfying. But there we go, back into the narrow section. Very platforming-esque. But then they switch it up when you get to about a minute in, and we're going to see it very, very shortly. But here we go, more platforming. Of course, Sonic in this game specifically, great at platforming, but still feels very stiff. Again, the Hedgehog engine doesn't really support it. Now that they have kind of really narrowed down the engine with Superstars, even though they haven't, there's still a lot of problems with like starting run speed. That's actually a big problem this game has. Classic Sonic, his starting speed is still very, very slow. Obviously, stopping, braking, building that speed feels very stiff and heavy, but this is the highlight of this level, grabbing that skateboard and enjoying what you need, platforming and finding these rings. And I like the way the camera zooms out so you can react and find where you need to jump and perform tricks to get to the other side and find yourself a good shortcut, and enjoying the sense of speed, the reward that makes Sonic so damn fun. There you go, skateboard's actually right there, so I like that, but I actually never noticed that it stayed on screen. So very, very cool. Now the truck comes back to chase us, but there's this platforming where you just have to get to the top, wait for it, because they're also gonna fall. And then once those levels of the construction site do end up falling, you'll be all right. Find these speed shoes, hit this guy over here, and jump onto this panel while the truck does one final attempt as it's crashing into you and bumps into the wall while you keep going, has no control. Such a freaking good level. Definitely one of my top 3 for Classic. I did not expect it to be that good, and looking back at it, it's still just as good. It might even be better than some of the stages we have today. It's incredible, but now I'm looking back, like, I feel like this game, classic Sonic-wise, is so much better than all of Superstars in 2023. Like, it's insane. Like, what I always dreamt of having, like, a real sequel to Sonic 3 and Knuckles is something that looks exactly like this. Very lively, very realistic, because Sonic has always been so known for his graphics being the next generation, right? Way ahead of Mario. Same thing with speed and platforming. It's always supposed to be the next generation, the next generation. So for it to be called Sonic Generations and having classic Sonic feel in that next step, I feel like that's what they could have gone for and really just perfected it. His physics, I think that would have been great compared to Forces, where it just went worse, and it just went worse and worse and worse. But if it had kind of a Superstars physics engine, I think it would have been great. Just make it as realistic as it is. Now getting onto, Seaside Hill, I did end up skipping the entire water section because, let's be honest, I think this is everybody's second to least favorite level in the entirety of the game, and looking back, I think it might still be. You can skip that entire water section. It's not fun, but going above is not that bad. You do have to do some platforming, but it's not as strict. I could tell that I'm already beating my time. I must have messed up and taken the water path. That's what I mean. You save so many seconds and potential minutes just by taking the higher path. But then there's that little cannon that if you take it back to the, it'll actually take you back to the water. So it's a little trap there and it will slow you down. So that's actually a cannon that you're not supposed to take. And there's an alternate path on the top like you see, but I took the lower path. So just so many paths in this level specifically. Not gonna make it over the hoop because again, the hedgehog ended, and that's something that I hated about this game, that stiffness that just doesn't go away. But now we're forced to be in the water. You do have to be in the water in this level at some point. Even if you try skipping it with the spin dash from how strong it is, it's still not going to be good enough. So I did notice this. I actually never saw this before, but I realized that my spin dash is so strong that I could get to the top path if I wanted to. And you can actually zip through and get past the hoop area, so you don't even have to take it. You can just jump to the other side and get to the entire end of the level. It was the first time I did something like that, and I was like, oh, all right, I guess I'll just skip all this. This is nice because I feel like they know classic Sonic doesn't move as well as the original, so they slow down that boulder section big time just to make sure that players can get through. If you do end up getting all 3 hoops on the higher end, you take the shortest route to the goal. So I feel like, again, you are very much rewarded in this game all the time for very technical platforming. If you really work hard on it, you can make this level as short and as fun as possible. Where on the other end, if you're a casual gamer, you're gonna hate this level because it's just like Seaside Hill, man. It's just such a drag. It's just, you get hit, the water, you're in it all the time. But now we're getting onto everyone's favorite level. This is my second favorite level in the classic era. This is Crisis City, of course, based on Sonic 06, one of the worst games of all time. So I feel like the developers really had to completely reconstruct this level while keeping that sense of nostalgia as to what made that level interesting in the first place. And starting off strong, I feel like they did a really good job here where they took the building section, like classic Sonic here, once again similar to City Escape. They go for more like that area, that linear area where you're just jumping off of buildings, and you're just climbing these towers, these destructive towers over and over. I skipped the entire section there because, you know, spin dash is broken in this game. You should always take advantage of spin dash. And there you go, you run off the building once again. I feel like they did a really great job of that, where when you get into modern Sonic, it focuses more on the city part that's really destroyed, right? Like here it's gonna be more about the buildings going through. It kind of feels like the White House Down movie or something like that. It feels like you're inside of a building just trying to get out over and over again, compared to Sonic, of course, you're just outside. So I like that contrast, it's nice. Missed that there. Also, the enemies had a really weird hitbox. I didn't notice that till now, where I hit that bird and I was actually quite far. I didn't think I would actually jump off of that, but I do like that you get a bounce all the time when Sonic does get a hit. It's very satisfying. It feels great to see. Hit over here. This is the top part, so you do get an extra bounce. That's where one of the red rings are. I remember that. But if you do go there, you get to skip this entire section, which leads you to the end. Now, this tornado, when I saw this, man, and seeing it now, all of this takes me back for sure. I mean, this is such a, oh god, you know what's going to happen section. If you played Sonic 06, you know that that tornado is carrying the car, is coming at some point. But that's for modern, right? So you're like, okay, so maybe this is what leads into modern Sonic. Okay, I'm gonna grab it. And then the goalpost disappears. And you're like, huh? And then no, you're actually in that Sonic 06 part where, yes, everything is floating, everything is just being in the wind, there's gusts, it's pulling you back constantly, so your platforming is even harder, you look even heavier now, but it works really well. It works better than the normal classic Sonic platforming, in my opinion. It just feels like it's supposed to feel heavy, it's supposed to feel sluggish. So this is just so well done. Look at that, I'm even trying to get to this car and I'm like, no, it's pulling me back, I just can't. Okay, there's a nice little hop, get that spring, and get to the final cannon that will take us to the final step for the goalpost. Hop around here. Get up, Sonic, you got this. It's like such a drag, and you feel it. You're like, I'm almost there, I can do it, and then you get the last jump, and then, oh, you made it back home. Crisis City, so well developed, definitely the second best in the entire game, after Sky Sanctuary, but I'm biased, like I said. I think everyone's favorite is Crisis City, from what I remember. Just So perfect. Let's get on to, of course, Rooftop Run. Rooftop Run is really cool because obviously Sonic Unleashed still very new at this time when the game came out. I mean, the game was only about 3-4 years old. So they still had these assets very much in place. Now, they kind of added all these like hot air balloons. And I think that for classic Sonic, it kind of gave like a hilltop zone Sonic 2 vibe. And I really like that because the rumor is that classic Sonic from this Sonic Generations is from Sonic 2. He wasn't in Sonic 3 yet because there's no classic Knuckles, and his idle animations we'll see later all from Sonic 2. So that's pretty cool to see. Like, it really does feel very much Hilltop Zone, the way that the level layout is, the music, the atmosphere, and the enemy placements. It feels like that. And they use the gimmicks of the balloons so well. The added animation, just so well done. Here we gotta wait. The green ones stay, the red ones don't. So you have to kind of really think, when are you gonna be able to jump? And they're so slow still, so you gotta really hop your way and think about it, because if you fall off, which I've done multiple times, I was actually super nervous for this video if I was gonna fall off or not. But the very rare time I did not, so you know we're improving as a gamer. Here we go, we're gonna keep going, drop into this hoop to skip that section, don't wanna deal with those enemies. Now we're gonna hop into the basement of Rooftop Run. This is the first time you're indoors in Rooftop Run, even with the modern version. So it's really cool that they, again, like with City Escape, with Crisis City, I've never really noticed that they bring classic Sonic into a lot of indoor themes. So I like that. I think it suits him a lot, you know, kind of creates like this dungeon vibe. Now here I kind of panicked. I played this like at 10 p.m. But I really panicked. I like messed this up. It's like the platforms now, I'm so used to very fast platforming that when I see how slow these platforms are, I'm like, man, I'm losing my patience. So I get this thinking like, okay, I'm gonna make it, right? And then I don't. So I'm gonna get to the top here and I'm like, I can do it. And then I get hit by going up. And I've never been hit like that before. So I never was in this position. I was like, oh God, don't hurt me, hiding in the corner. And I did find out, yeah, you can just hide in the corner, you know, classic 2D gaming moment of just stay in the corner and you're fine. But you're good. Let's push that barrel. I love that, hitting all the enemies. I wish it counted as points. That is something in Sonic Generations, now looking back, I wish stayed, is there's no point system. You don't see it, right? Like, as long as you make it to the other side without dying as fast as you can, you will most likely get an S rank. So it would have been nice to see your score, like in other adventure Sonic games and that era of the Dreamcast, like Sonic Heroes, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Adventure. It would, and even Sonic Unleashed, right? Like, it would have been nice if we kept that score on the top. And we would have been more about the score and hitting the enemies and how fast you can hit them rather than just going fast, right? Because if you skip this entire thing, that's fine. But it's not as addicting as when you're really working for it, in my opinion. But it does feel great to blast this game with music on a lot. So now we're at the big tower section. We're trying to get all the way to the clock tower specifically. There's all these enemies. This is actually a section in the modern era, but it's all in 2D. So it's nice that they really just copy pasted it into classic Sonic. I think it suits him a lot. Now you gotta climb this entire clock and you gotta land into there to break the clock open. But I end up missing. The first time I ever missed this. I'm like, how do I get on top? Let's see. Hopefully, luckily I did find this and I wasn't too late. There is an enemy there that will get you to where you need, and you can bounce right inside and spin dash your way to open and hit into the Eggman fleet. That airship gonna go down. This is such a nice touch because this was not in the original game. So I love that there's kind of a stampede and it just looks like Sonic's blasting his way through whatever is left to make sure it is getting down and destroyed. Rooftop Run completed while Sonic heads for the grassy section. Honestly, it's really cool to see that like he's getting there as we're going to introduce to Planet Wisp, which unfortunately is by far, and everyone I think still says it, is the worst level in Sonic Generations. It is so bad, man. You have this like luscious, beautiful, saturated level design, and it comes from Sonic Colors just the year prior to this game's release, where that level, you know, it was divided into 4 or 5 acts because of, you know, that's the way Sonic Colors was. They had multiple acts. They were all like little mini games and esque. So they had to all take ideas of that and then bring it into here. But what makes it so bad is how long the level is compared to the other levels. but also just the lack of speed, right? Whenever you get to a section, you're like, man, okay, I'm gonna be rewarded with speed now, and you're just not. Like you saw there, I got to a section, was immediately halted and got hit right away. Another thing that just makes this so bad is obviously the wisps. I think the wisps just were such a gimmick back then. They were using it when Sonic Colors was a hit. They just kept bringing it back for every freaking Sonic game until 2017 with Sonic Forces. And it's just such a gimmick that nobody liked, right? It was good for one game, and that's all we wanted it for. But it was just not everybody's favorite cup of tea. So, and they only brought back one, so it's like, it just felt so repetitive. Classic Sonic gets spikes, which is not a fun one. So you just go around, and even though you go fast, because yeah, it's easy to do, and spikes can only be used in 2D Sonic of the original Sonic Colors. It just doesn't work, and it works way less than I remember it. It's really bad and has not aged well at all. And then Modern, I believe, gets Rocket only, so it's like, okay, the most linear one that is only being done again in 2D, so it doesn't make sense. But we'll get to Modern next week for sure. Let's get around here and go all the way. So I actually didn't see that arrow. I got lost here. I was like, where am I going? Oh, I'm supposed to go the other way. I didn't realize that. So I saw that, said, okay, I guess I gotta go all the way back now. It's very unclear. It's very, you feel like you're constantly in a maze, and I've never been a fan of Sonic going upside down on last levels. They did that in Superstars as well. I think Sonic Mania is the only time I went upside down that I enjoyed it. That level design is peak fiction. But in this game, man, it's just not great. Like, this area here is really good, actually, because again, you're not the Wisp, you're just platforming your way, and you have a sense of speed. This reward is really, really nice. I think that's probably the best part of this level. So, heading to the next section here, again, you're now gonna be forced to be using spikes, so all momentum is lost. You kind of got like this puzzle. You gotta make a little bridge here. But I said, fuck it, I'm gonna just go around because I could. But again, very optional areas that feel like, why is this here in the first place? And I end up taking that boost from getting hit, going all the way around. It helps a lot to avoid what you need to, kind of skip all these rocket areas, and you head now to the last section of the game, which is gonna be right over here. So you gotta watch these little claws. I'm actually beating my time somehow, 38 seconds. I think that hit really, really helped because you do have a lot there. So now you got like this puzzle. You gotta go one here, and then there's another one at the top. So you spin all the way here, and remember that you gotta hit these bumpers. And then make sure you fill up, because it's not infinite. It does have a timer. It goes based on the cue of the music, which I don't miss. Like the I just didn't miss it. This is it. This is now the puzzle that you have to do. I remember the first time when I played this, I was like, what do I do? I don't understand. And then I realized I was just missing one. It's very easy puzzling. But it's just like, it just halts you, man. Like your flow is just off. And then if you fall, you gotta go all the way back up, and you're slowly going back to normal like you see there. So then you're like, shit, I have to do it all over again. But luckily I caught it in time, and they reward you with rings, so that's fine. And then I immediately get off of that thing. You can press the Y button to just get out of the wisps, and thank goodness gracious, because I did not want to deal with it. And then the last thing you gotta break is just this section right here. I grab that, let go, and now all you gotta do is run. The only time in the game you gotta run. So up there, if you do have the speed shoes, you can't skip. There's one final platforming section, but you can skip it by using the speed shoes, which I did. So use all that. You're supposed to land on those trees. First time I didn't, by the way. It's like Sonic was clipped in the 3D section instead of the 2D section. First time that ever happened to me, but it did happen. It did. There it is, guys. That's every level in classic Sonic Generations. Let's take a look at some animations now a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about his model. I've always hated the way Sonic looked, classic Sonic. It just was not the apparent redesigned Sonic I'll show here. That's literally in the game, by the way. It's in the artwork. But he just doesn't look cool. Classic Sonic in this game comes off very cutesy, I'm here, yay, nostalgia kind of vibe. But I really enjoy the classic original look of just, there's a darker blue, and he's got like a frown because he's got attitude, you know? Like, he's cute, but he ain't here to cuddle, you know? Like, he's a cool guy, and he's got attitude, and that's what I've always loved about him. So that's something that I was personally disappointed with. I think they made him a bit too round, fatty, And I think his quills definitely should have been a little sharper. Something that gets me even more wrong is how pale he is. I feel like there's no saturation in his color at all. It gives him lack of animation too, his model. So even when he's doing the Sonic 2 idle animations here, it's cute, right? It doesn't have the attitude that I want to see all the time. You know, I want to see that emphasis on the animation being shown. I remember when Classic Sonic was announced for Sonic Generations at that reveal, right? And I lost my mind. I just remember so vividly, like, being in my bedroom and just freaking out entirely seeing this. Like, I was so thrilled. I was really sick that day. And I ran to my parents like, Mom, the Sonic you played back in the day is back. You know, like, it was cool. It was really cool. Even my mom freaked out when I showed her. So that's just about it for Classic Sonic in Sonic Generations. Road to Shadow X Sonic Generations. I said that backwards, but coming out October 25th. Next week we'll be looking at Modern Sonic, and it's gonna go a lot faster because we got Boost, baby, and I'm all about that speedrun life in Modern Sonic. So we'll see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments below your experience with Classic Sonic. What do you enjoy most about him? What do you not enjoy about it? What was your favorite stage and what was your least favorite? I'll see you guys next week for another video. Take care and have a good week. Bye.